Hi, everybody. It's going well, and I'm glad to be here. It's been a while since I've done some commentary, so I've been champing at the bit. Stand by. Stand by. Stand by. There it is. All right, all right, all right. Okay. Can all of you beautiful babies out there hear me? All right. Thanks, Mike. Mike Harris, just to be clear. What's up? We got Andy Culpepper in the house. We got Mike Harris.
All right, I'm going to test right here. It seems to be coming in, but only a little bit. This is always...
What's up, Raphael?
Okay, it's in the game.
All right.
All right, test again. It does not seem to be coming through.
I think Mike Harris just said there he is. So, chat, maybe be specific. Can you hear Mike Arnold? If you can, just someone shout it out in the chat. All right.
Okay. They're hearing me now.
Mike, looks like
That's great.
You're
Okay.
set.
Awesome.
Roll.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks, chat.
Appreciate it. And Gabe says, can't test some things in the microphone. Deadguy sucks. Okay.
Not with Desolation Angel, Gabe. If you run Desolation Angel, it does not suck.
Yeah. Well, that being said, let's just get into it. We've got Deadguy Ale, or Desolation Guy Ale, we should call it, versus Psychonought right here. These were it was David's second pick in the deck draft, and then it was Aaron's seventh round pick for this. So just a little quick rundown. There's 64 decks that went into the Gauntlet. We did a deck draft, between 8 players right there, and this is what we ended up with. We're going to take just a quick look here at the deck list. I'll get these pulled up.
Goody.
We're going to start off with the Psychonaut deck. There we go. And this looks very much like the blue-black Psychotog list, which we're running around back in, I would say mostly 2021 and 2022. Before mono blue really became a thing, but we've got 3 Psychotogs here in the main deck. Is there anything that kind of stands out? I know Flint, you said that you had drafted up something like this a couple of years ago. What kind of stands out to you with this list?
I did, and just again, shout out to James Smits. I sent you a list and said, hey, I think this could be good, and you were like, nah, there's too much tension between the 2 strategies, or something like that. I could be paraphrasing, and my memory's not what it used to be. But what I love about this list is the fact that the Psychodogs really stand in as Dreadnoughts, 5, 6, and 7. And my problem with the Psychotog deck is it just sits back and tries to answer everything that the opponent is doing until it can get the graveyard and it can get the Psychotog in play and try to close the game out. So it plays much more like a control deck, but this is way more the control combo scheme. It has way more of a proactive strategy. It forces the opponent to have an answer to the Dreadnought. And of course, it has the classic disruption of counter spells, and then the black version, of course, runs Duress. Now, he is running Limb Duel's Vault, which originally was a card that I'm keen on in some lists and not others. I think Aaron said while we were setting up that he may shave a Limdual's Vault or two from this list. Maybe it hasn't been quite as good. Maybe he just wants, Portents or something just to kind of have some early cantrips would be my guess. Just looking over it myself. But my initial thought is that um, it looks pretty solid and it looks really fun to play.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of synergy here. I mean, both decks want to run Gush, and that's kind of what ties us all together. And yeah, it just makes the deck a lot more resilient against removal. There's very few cards which answer both of those. However, you know, um, just giving you more threats that does protect you from things like swords to plowshares, just in general. Um, and otherwise, yeah, going on from that, we're going to move on to uh, David's uh, Desolation Guy Ale right here. And yeah, this is a dark ritualist black-white deck, which has certainly been gaining traction in the community. A lot of people have just been unhappy with ritual into specter type of decks, but still wanting to play some of the good value cards in black and white. So we will still see the Vindicates, we'll still see the Gerard's Verdicts, and just the trusty old Duress and Source of Plowshares right there. Um, I know you're a lover of Desolation Angel, Flint. So just taking a look at the 75 here, what do you think of it?
Good question. It sounds like chat said there's a little bit of hiss in my audio and maybe my audio settings. I just double checked and changed something. So feel free, chat, to jump back in and let me know if it sounds any better or not. But all of my input settings are correct on my end. So maybe there's something with the audio on your end, Mike. But regardless, I'm just going to jump in. It's just my nasally voice, just the airline pilot. But I will say, in terms of this list, Desolation Angel really is, well, one of my favorite cards from the pre-modern era. I love the art. I love the concept. Armageddon on a flying stick, essentially. So when I first saw David's list, I was really, really excited about that. We got to see that in action against you when you were playing elves, of course,
Hmm.
much to your chagrin.
Oh yeah.
But I also like his take on Deadguy in that he's not trying to just jam a dark ritual and land a specter or a Phyrexian arena right away and then get blown out. I do like the fact that he's just got a lot of really interactive cards. He's got the Eternal Dragon for the plane cycling. He's got the Phyrexian Ragers for some card advantage, and he's got two Skeletal Scrying, which is another card that you and I know have talked about a lot and really really like. And there are two other. There's one other card, and there's two copies of it in this list that I think that you're especially keen on.
And that's Chain Pact, which sadly we won't talk about this too much, but David hates the card and is going to, cut immediately here. But yeah, Chain Pact, serves an additional function in these decks just to kind of see a few more cards each game, and it just increases the frequency that you'll be able to land a Desolation Angel at some point during the game, just by seeing, a couple more cards. Functions a lot like a Black Impulse. However, I know David has some bad beat stories from the tournament here, just flipping doubles a little too often. Um, but yeah, other than that, that's David's deck that he brought here. We're going to take just a quick look at the bracket, see what these decks went through, and then we'll get right on to the match right here. So I'm going to pull up my trusty bracket. Flint, do you remember who you selected to win the tournament, or did you fill out a bracket in the first place?
I didn't fill out a bracket. I was kind of MTG MIA this year. I played in two tournaments. I played one monthly, and I played at LobsterCon, and then I did some commentary in the PSS, but not as much as I have historically because I was traveling a lot. So
Sure.
I didn't fill out a bracket,
Yeah.
but let's take a look.
All right. Well, first up, we got Psychonought right here. It beat Survival Madness starting off, and then Balancing Kings. Then there was Aaron faced up two of his decks against each other. He also drafted Goblins. I apologize for that, and Psychotog took the win right there. And then a 2-0 win over Reanimator, finally beating Merfolk with Stiflenot, also known as Fish and Chips, to be able to make its way to the finals right here. So that's a clean 5-0 into the finals. And then with Deadguy, David beat me pretty badly. I was on Dark Secret or Natural Order Rock. and then he faced Anger Ghoul in the second round, beat that 1-2-0. That's the bane of combo decks right there is your
Yeah,
traditional Deadguy
that's a
Ale.
brutal matchup.
Beat me with on Wug Threshold 2-1. Really grindy kind of crazy games right there, and then Deadguy taking down Elves 2-0 to land here in the finals. So yeah, we've got an altered future sight on the line for the winner of the bracket challenge. If you're new to the Gauntlet, this is something I put up at the beginning of every tournament. Functions a lot like a March Madness type bracket, and yeah, we've got some cool prizes here for the winners. Right now we've got Mike Harris and Ricardo Barros as the in the lead right here tied. But there's 4 points on the line for the person who if you guess the winner correctly. So these Lionel Lowe and David Raska can definitely shoot up right there. And if we do end up with a tie, it's a point-based system. So whoever has the highest percentage that will be the tiebreaker. But other than that, I'll message the guys. We'll go ahead, get started with the match here, and get on to game number 1 of 5. Gonna minimize. Let's see. I'm gonna turn off my camera so that the guys are larger right here. And Flint, if you could do the same, just turn off your camera.
Yep.
All right.
All right. I didn't see. Did anyone mulligan?
I don't believe so. It just looks like Aaron's on the play right here. Usually the guys, will always place their extra card on here, but we'll see David revealing, a full 7-card hand, double verdict, duress into double verdict is pretty sweet right there.
Yeah. He's gunning for Aaron's hand for sure.
Mm-hmm.
This will be really interesting to see what Aaron takes, right? If he's got potential turn 2 combo, he may just take the duress here.
Oh, absolutely.
Because David really doesn't have an answer to a Dreadnought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
I never see it. So David now without any big first turn play, and he doesn't have white mana at this point, which is important for the verdict.
Right, and even if he drew a swords, right, he doesn't have the white mana, so the coast is fairly clear for Aaron to go for it here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, with an island too, he could potentially have days back up.
Correct.
I mean, I think if you have Dreadnought, you just jam here, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think 9 times out of 10, unless Aaron knows something that we don't know. But if I were in David's shoes, I would be wanting, of course, to Tainted Pact, looking for that white source. And unfortunately, Aaron can have days up, if not just counterspell, in the first place. So looks like 3 mana coming down, and we've got Psychonought.
Dr. Teeth himself has entered the building. Here we go.
And there's the Tainted Pact.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, I would snap keep that cave.
Pick it up.
Yep.
Black Impulse strikes again.
Yep. I don't know if I ever told you how I kind of came to the idea of running Tainted Pact in Deadguy. I was watching a LSV video, with one of his cubing videos, and people usually he always drafts a pretty good mana base, but he didn't grab any dual lands or whatever before, but he's like, it's all right, we've got Brainstorm, we've got Ponder, we're fine, that's fixing. And I was like, I know a deck which could use some fixing off of whatever cantrip it can get.
Yep. Yeah, I remember back when you started running it. So it looks like David elects to cast the verdict here, right? He has the mana to potentially pay for a daze, and Aaron discarded an island and a vision charm, and so David went back up to 21.
Yeah. So I'd assume at this point, David just wants to continue to attack the hand, probably play a big skeletal scrying once he gets the
Yep,
chance to be able to find that sort of like a plow or a vindicate at this point.
definitely. Is that another island in a vision charm I see?
Yep.
Okay. So cards in the graveyard aren't the worst thing in the world for Psychotog, but it's definitely going to slow Aaron down from that proactive strategy that his deck can literally bring to the table.
Hmm.
Well, it'll be interesting to see here. Obviously, Aaron needs to really make sure that this scrying doesn't resolve and David can't refill his hand. Um, we'll see. It'll be the next couple of turns are going to be really interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting, with Aaron discarding 2 Vision Charms right here. Do you think that indicates that he doesn't have a Dreadnought at this point?
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah, yeah.
clearly.
I mean, that's my read.
Now, one thing that kind of stuck out to me when I was looking at David's list and just kind of prepping for the match is that David has 2 Withered Wretches in the main deck, and then he's got 2 more in the sideboard. So that really really limits that you know just how dangerous Psychotog can be. Because without a graveyard, even if you're going from 7 cards in hand, Psychotog can only swing for a possibility of 10.
Yeah, definitely. And he's got more in the side. David has more in the sideboard as well. And I think if Aaron was just playing traditional Psychotog, then Wretch has a lot more game, right? Because
Absolutely.
he's playing that longer game. But since he has the more proactive strategy, it becomes huge. All right, so here he's going for it here with the scrying. Is it going to resolve?
There we see the counterspell.
Okay. Yep. Good. Yeah. You just obviously Aaron can't let that resolve. It's just going to put David so far ahead after stripping Aaron's hand down.
Hmm.
Who do you like in this matchup, Mike? Who do you
I
think's
like
favorite game one?
game one. Um, that's really tough. It's I would say that David is favored both pre-board and post-board overall. That being said, um, you know Aaron can still just cheese out wins with the combo. Um, but overall, I think David has enough removal and enough disruption to interact really well with Aaron. Um, and just having it being open deck lists, and the matchup known beforehand, that generally favors a deck like David's.
Mm.
What were your kind of thoughts when you saw the matchup?
Yeah, I think if I don't know. I thought that David was probably a little bit uh, ahead in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the lists. Part of me wonders if Aaron was on traditional Psychotog, if he might actually have a better chance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because of the way that deck works with the card advantage and kind of setting things up, he has a little more time. But because he has to invest so many cards into something like a Dreadnought, it's got to be 2 cards per knot. And David kind of preys on um, card disadvantage with the way that his deck's set up with the discard, and then of course with all of the removal. I don't know. I mean, I almost wonder if traditional Psychotog would be better in this matchup, but I haven't watched a lot of these matches either. I haven't watched Aaron's deck play out a lot. I haven't watched David's deck play out a lot, but those are just my initial thoughts.
So another gush right here. Wait a minute. No, wait a minute. I am messed up. I apologize.
What's up?
I'm trying to go back between things. So, all right.
Sorry, Mike, is everything okay?
Yeah, I apologize. I was going back between the stream, and it looks like, yeah, David scoops him up for game one there.
You just came in with a dog?
just after another gush there.
Okay. Well, that'll do it.
So Andy Culpepper asks if anyone is still live to get points. I am not sure. I don't believe very many points are on the line here. These were not, some of the decks which were the most popular by any means as a pick for the winner. But I used to be able to easily see each entry for the form. However, Common Ninja they did some changes. I'm not able to just like automatically pull up people's forms that they submitted, so I can't really see what people submitted. But judging on what people are saying, I don't think that there's going to be a huge swing in points this time around. And just asking the community right here, what did everyone pick to be able to win the challenge? I personally picked elves. I bet on myself. I was like, this is going to be my year, and I took it to the top 4, which,
Oof.
so close so far. Or no, top.
We got Pete Rose over here. Betting on himself.
Yep. My mistake. I took it to the top 8. My top 4 deck was Pit Rack.
Very nice. I'd love to hear what chat thinks. Chime in. Who do you think is favored in this matchup? Who's going to take it down? What do people think? All right, so it looks like we're off to the races here. Both players are keeping, and David's fetching here. I want to comment on the fetches in the list as well. I'm sure you noticed that when I first looked at the list, I was like, fetches? Like, are you what? And then, of course, I saw the Skeletal Scrying and was like, okay, I get it. He wants to put more cards in his graveyard. But, it's the little things like that that are just a nice touch in terms of deck synergies that a lot of players wouldn't appreciate or think of, and David certainly does.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Also helps with Tainted Pact, because one of the, the struggles with Tainted
Yes.
Pact is to get your, just to increase the diversity of card names in the deck. So very easy thing you can do is split your basics with regular basics and snow. But then sometimes you still end up with a bunch of basics with a high land count deck. David's running, 25 lands, I believe, in his list. So, yeah, in order to get the more diversity in the land types, you just go with a couple fetches. And, yeah, the synergy with the Skeletal Scrying is, for sure very relevant.
Absolutely. And it does get risky, too, if obviously you draw your basics and your fetches. But I'd be curious to hear how often that's come up with David. Oh, yeah. We also see a Duress here taking a pretty easy Swords to Plowshares. And we see the lovely lady herself, Desolation Angel, hiding out in David's hand this game. We'll see if she gets to join the battlefield.
We have All the Rage of 2023 in the format coming. The Phyrexian Rager, who meets with the Days. I was kind of... I thought it was very funny, like, when I learned that Phyrexian Rager was just like a cube all-star. For a long time, because it's not like a card that I ever thought of like in years, even in Invasion Block draft or anything like that. It didn't stand out to me as an all-star from that time. But yeah, Phyrexian Rager, he's definitely a pre-modern staple now.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely made a splash, obviously in the Rock, and then of course in this deck. I still see a fair number of lists that don't run him. I think some of the hype has died down, and a lot of the, not a lot, but some of those versions will just, like of the Rock, will just run Call of the Herd instead. But I do like the card, and I do think it has its place. We'll be interested to see in the next year if and how he persists.
I think he's definitely like better in a deck with Therapy.
Yeah,
Because that just increases like his value, like in the late game.
he definitely is. We're seeing some back and forth and trading of resources here.
It looks like yeah, the verdict was let's see.
God,
Gush,
Gush is
yeah,
just
it
a
was
hell of a card.
yeah. Gush is so good and does so much from the verdicts. I'm just trying to go back. There's 2 dazes in Aaron's graveyard, and one of the dazes was against the Rager, and I believe the other daze was discarded to verdict, if I'm
That's
not
my
mistaken.
understanding.
Yeah, it looks like the Gush was just one Gush was discarded along as well, but then Aaron followed up the next turn with another Gush.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what the card is underneath the Gush that was put into the graveyard first?
I don't. It does look like it's blue cards. I think it's an impulse from what I
Okay,
remember from earlier. I can be
that sounds
mistaken.
right, but
I'm going
yeah.
back and forth in
Thanks,
between
Jared.
screens, but
All right, what you got over there, Aaron?
Gabe says that he would prefer Ravenous Rats over Phyrexian Rager. I don't blame him here. I definitely see some value in the rats.
Mano loves Ravenous Rats. He's had some success with those in his red black list.
I think you just snap the stifle here. Oh, he takes the counter spell. Okay. Well, we know David has Vindicate in hand.
You think he's got a swords as well?
I mean, it's quite likely. Either way, you're kind of risking it, taking the stifle. I guess that's the first enabler, so Aaron has 7 left in his deck, and that would probably be the reason why you would let him keep the stifle right there, because it's just more likely that he's going to have, he would draw like another enabler, and he'd still have the backup of the counterspell. So if you just grab the counterspell, you kind of force him to be able to find another piece of protection before you go for it.
Here comes the scrying.
All right, such a beautiful card.
Yeah, I love that it's instant speed.
Oh yeah. What's the largest skeletal scrying you've ever cast, Flint?
Probably like 7 or 8 cards.
It's a beautiful feeling.
Yeah, it does feel great.
I mean, it's got to be
One
like
of my. Go ahead.
it's got to be like on the top 10 list of cards which people aren't playing in terms of power level for the format. It's just so much better than the actual representation that it sees.
So we see the duress from Aaron here, and he takes a swords, but David's got a backup swords and a vindicate. So obviously, not a lot of protection in Aaron's hand, presumably right now. If he did go for the dreadnought, so he's just going to pass it back. I was going to say that when I first got into the format and I was brewing Deadguy lists, I pretty much every list that I brewed had skeletal scrying in it. I just really like the card, and it's nice to see it, along with Desolation Angel, of course, in a finals.
Mm-hmm. And we do see that Aaron is at least sandbagging, some lands, at least one right now. Do you think that is for Desolation Angel, or that it's, also for foil?
It's even if he doesn't have a foil, I just don't think there's any reason to play it out, right? Like
Sure.
he may draw a foil later, and if, obviously there's cards like Gerard's Verdict that are going to strip cards from his hand, so he really wants to have a cushion. He's got plenty of mana on the battlefield.
Gabe is asking about what do people think about Unearth in Blue Black Knot? It's definitely a possibility. Unearth is never dead, but I do want to try a Ravenous Rats base list with Unearth, because if we like rats, after we sack them to therapy, why not bring it back again?
That would be a fun kind of a list if you were going to run Unearth and Rats and Dreadnought. I think the problem with just Unearth in a straight blue-black list is most of the time your Dreadnought's probably just going to get swords.
Sure.
Sure, it could get countered or it could get disenchant it or whatever. It just seems like Swords to Plowshares is public enemy number one for, a lot of these like Protect the Queen or all in creature decks.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if I would, and you also have to find the Dreadnought as well, which can be a problem in the Dreadnought list, is you just don't end up drawing one because you have 8 of the other cards with Vision Charm and Stifle, but you only have 4 Dreadnought. So I like the idea of putting Unearth in a deck that also has, rats or some other value creature that you might want to do that with.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I would just jam it in any blue-black Stifle Knot list myself.
We are getting close to Desolation Angel time, if that's the
I
route that
know.
David wants to go.
That's my favorite time. Although Aaron could stifle the trigger.
That would be
right? Is it when it
fun.
comes into play? It is a comes into play trigger, isn't it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, just making sure.
It'd be so sweet if it was like a cast trigger, because you could do that
I
with
know,
like kicker,
Yeah, but I think it says when it comes into play, if its kicker cost was paid or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Then you destroy all lands instead. So yeah, it could be stifled. Looks like Raph picked up on that in chat as well. Great minds, Raphael. Great minds.
Is he gonna cycle the dragon here? Okay, interesting. Since we were getting so close to being able to cast the dragon, I thought that David might want to actually go for winning the game. Play out a threat. Though, let's see. I guess David could also play Desolation Angel and then drop a Plains so that he would, he would still be able to play a Swords after not.
Oh, he's going to scry for 4 here.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the unknowns in his hand was looks like foil Skeletal Scryings.
David definitely a connoisseur of nice foils. I know.
Yeah, he's got some sweet cards.
Yep. I know the 4 foil negators that you'll see in the sideboard. He got those after he won a monthly. That was his little prize for himself, which I can appreciate.
Nice. Yeah, we've got 2, very good players here in the finals. It's nice to watch them both play. I like both of their play styles, in terms of their mannerisms. Especially David, he has a very distinct table game that you see on camera. I haven't played him in real life, but just when I watch him play on camera, his is very unique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very difficult to be able to read David and what he's exactly doing, and he definitely he thinks about the game differently than I think most players do. When he plays Landstill, I've heard other players describe his style as like he's playing like an aggro deck when he's playing Landstill. So it's really interesting that he just thinks about the cards in different ways than most people do. That's what gives him an edge, I think.
So it looks like he duressed and took a Vision Charm, and now in his main phase he's casting a Tainted Pact.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense.
Ooh,
he might be looking for something specific at this point, knowing that he doesn't have counter magic. And is he going to keep the verdict, or he's thinking about it?
One more card. Oh no, he takes the verdict. That's probably correct.
Yeah, so I mean, Aaron just has to discard 2 lands right here. That's what I would think. And if David is able to cast this Desolation Angel here, that leaves Aaron with just the 1 land. He'd have to find another land to combo off, and then also be able to beat the Swords.
I think he just stifle the trigger, honestly.
Yeah.
But David needs pressure, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think going back to your comment earlier about the dragon, he's dirtled enough, he's drawn enough cards from scrying, it's time to put some pressure on Aaron.
So we see Runes of Trocare right here.
Hello, Casey Greger. Welcome, welcome. All right, so Aaron just drew him past. So he's got 2 unknown or 3 unknowns in his hand. It looks like 2.
All right, here comes the dragon, which is going to be the counterspell.
That's a better one to get countered than Desolation Angel.
Though the thing about countering an Eternal Dragon, it doesn't last forever.
It's not eternal.
It is. Well, countering the dragon doesn't last forever. He'll be back. You need to dissipate to get rid of that guy.
All right, so Wretch has entered the building.
Yep. And with David at a healthy 15 life right there, that's definitely cutting off, and tons of mana to be able to nuke Aaron's Yard. That's gonna, yeah, that's basically gonna shut off Psychonought right there.
Yeah, and even more importantly, I might argue, I mean, it's pressure, right? It's only a 2/2, but it's pressure.
Oh yeah.
And so he's able to use some mana to get the dragon back. Oh, and now he's playing out a morph. Okay,
Yep.
So speaking of pressure, we've got an Exalted Angel on deck.
Yep. And yeah, with David having both a Vindicate and a Swords of Plowshares in hand, I mean, what would Aaron actually have to do to get out of this situation?
I mean, he's got to jam 2 Dreadnoughts and have a way to protect one of them, I would say.
Usually whenever I'm in the situations, such as Aaron's, it always starts with Gush, You have to Gush and hope that you get 2 good cards off the top.
That would be a great start.
Were you a Gush player back in the day?
I was not. When Gush was played in Extended, I was playing PT Junk. Because we only had 4 Gushes, and my friend was using the Gushes in his Grotog deck, or Miracle Grow deck, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And I was playing the black, white, green Junk deck instead. His deck was better than mine.
All right. Aaron scoops him up there.
Yep.
All right, and we are off to game 3. We're going to take a quick little look here, just what these guys can bring to the board. And starting with David's list right here, we'll see those 2 Withered Wretches in the sideboard. And after that, what kind of sticks out to you? What would you like slam in for this matchup?
Let me pull up the list here on my end from the group chat. I'm just going to look. I know earlier when I was looking at David's list, obviously the Disenchants stood out. Withered Wretch stood out. I mean, you could make an argument, I guess, for bringing in the Negators just because you might have an answer to Dreadnought, but I don't know if that's the route that I would go. When you look at David's list, are there any cards that you just don't like? I mean, Desolation Angel is probably not that great in this match, right? I mean, I think I would probably take those 2 out.
Sadly, I think Desolation Angel has to go right there. It's just not the game that you want to be playing. David is going to automatically cut the Tainted Backs just because he doesn't like them, even though
he hates them.
That's a card which gets much better, post-board, just being able to, find those key pieces of interaction right there. And David's definitely the control deck in this matchup. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, sorry, I asked you, and then I just interrupted you. Please continue.
Yeah, well, I would definitely keep them. I would probably cut the Ragers, personally. But other than that, yeah, it seems to me that Desolation Angel, Rager isn't the best in here. Bring in the Withered Wretches for sure, and the Disenchants, and then you could possibly bring in the Negators. But with the creatures that David has, it seems too dangerous to bring in the Negators.
I I I don't hate Tainted Pact, but David has had enough experience with it. So if he hates it and we know it's coming out, then we know that the Angels are coming out. So 4 cards. My guess would be 2 packs come out, the 2 Angels come out, 2 Disenchants come in, and 2 Withered Wretches come in. The reason why I think I like Phyrexian Rager is because of what I was saying earlier, and that it's still pressure. So if Aaron's going to sit back and sort of wait because he gets disrupted, if I'm David, I really want to have something pressuring Aaron's life total.
Sure.
And the cantrip is nice from the Rager, and with the Wretch is a 2/2 stick, but it also stops kind of the late game Doctor Teeth strategy. So I think that's probably how I would board. What about Aaron's list? What are you thinking?
Yeah, Aaron doesn't have very much, it seems, for this matchup. Um, Smother hits the Withered Wretch, which is important, but that's about all that it hits of importance. Um, Brain Freeze, I don't necessarily think. Well, the game might go long enough that Aaron wants to pivot into a Brain Freeze plan. Um, Not necessarily to, he's not going to count on David to give him that storm like a blue counter war would. But you know,
Mm-hmm.
if Aaron can definitely still generate, a Brain Freeze for like, you know, 15, something like that. So that might be a possibility right there. A null doesn't hit enough. Crypt is irrelevant. The blue blast, engineer plague. So I'd pretty much just be looking at the smothers right here, honestly.
What are you going to take out?
Judging from what Aaron has talked about, you'd probably cut some one Limdol's Vault and probably a Daze. Um, it, you could keep all the Dazes in on the play, but considering the matches again are going to go very long, um, then Daze loses a lot of value.
Okay.
What about you?
Yeah, I think it's fair to bring in some other. I mean, Brain Freeze is an interesting option because there's a world where the Withered Wretch plan, you know, takes out the Psychotog maybe, and he's unable to have the cards in his graveyard. I don't know. I mean, he won game one with Psychotog, so maybe not. But I don't think Aaron can just sit back and sandbag a Brain Freeze just because David gets to see his hand so much and
Mm-hmm.
make him discard so many cards. So again, I think if it were a different matchup and Aaron had more time and there wasn't as much interaction with his hand, then maybe Brain Freeze is good. But I mean, Smother might be it. I don't know. We'll see what he says.
All right. I'll message guys, let them know that they can start whenever.
Awesome.
Now, here's an important question: who is winning the playmat war right here? Because Aaron has the sweet, hybrid of the Pyro and Hydro Blast right here, but David's got, I think, one of the best arts from early Modern Magic and Thoughtseize right there. Certainly one of the most
Oh
played
yeah, it's
cards.
great.
I just bought my first couple Thoughtseizes earlier this month. Glad it's not in Premodern, but it's, as a lover of black magic, I do appreciate it.
It's too good. It's too good for pre-modern. I
Oh
mean, it's
yeah,
one of the best discard spells ever printed, if not the
yep.
best.
And I mean, in pre-modern, I always bring this up when people are talking about like, oh, I just wish I could predict, him to Turok or whatever. It's like we are not lacking for good discard spells in this format. We've got some all timers right here. In fact, there's 8 copies that we're going to see here between these decks just in duress. One of my favorite design cards of all time. It's so simple, it's so efficient, but it's not overpowered. We'll see Aaron leading off with the Lindell spot right there.
All right, let's spin the wheel. Jared with the comments here on the Pyrohydro Matt and the Fallen Empire Sacklands. Jared's been. I saw Jared posted recently his Lake of the Dead playmat with the Pete Venture signature as his favorite mat, and I must say that my Lake of the Dead mat with Pete Venture signature might be my favorite playmat that I own as well.
It's one I thought about getting. I've recently just been collecting a few playmats, and I want to get like one for each color Magic. The Necro playmat, which I got early on, this is my first time back in Magic in years, and I didn't realize until I got it. It's not an authorized copy or anything like that. It's just a cheap one from China or something like that. And I've thought about getting some like authentic, one for the color black, just to support the artists and everything who have done so much to build the game. And Lake of the Dead is certainly like one of my favorite options there.
It's such cool art, and I think it brought me luck when I actually used to playmat at LobsterCon.
Nice.
All right, so what are we seeing here? We see a little bit of early gameplay. We see Aaron Gush, and it looks like he's going for Dreadnought and with a Stifle.
Yep.
Okay. So he's saying, all right, I'm going to be proactive. We're not sitting back. Let's see how this game goes. Your move, creep, as RoboCop would say.
Yeah, just a good clean turn 4 Dreadnought, I believe that was.
Looks like it.
So David's got 5 mana available to him if he wants it. He certainly has, the ability to do something like a Plow plus a Vindicate and still play around Daze if he has it. Or even like a Disenchant plus a Vindicate. Use up all his mana. So just
he couldn't play around Daze. He couldn't play around Daze with a Disenchant and Vindicate.
Correct.
But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Looks like David's just passing.
All right, so he's going to try Upkeep Disenchant. Yep. So best case scenario for David is he's got a swords here. Oh, but best case for Aaron, he's got a foil. That's pretty good.
Yep.
So are we going to see a swords?
Nope. It looks like he's just passing on.
Going to draw step. All right.
And David all the way down to 8 just in one hit. And, okay, Exalted Angel does buy time if it resolves. But, yep.
Days. Okay. That's what the deck does, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a brutal killing machine.
Oof.
So Aaron now just one game away. And David hoping to be the spoiler and make it force a 5th game. Jared asks, that's what Tog does? Yes. That's what this version of Psychonought does.
I'm getting a flashback to the second Premodern series that we did, second PSS, and thinking about when Aaron brought his rock deck that just splashed red, right?
And called it Fires.
And call it Fires, and then Mano afterwards was just like, yeah, I guess that's what happens when you let someone play the rock in the creative league. He was salty about it, but he was also being funny about it. But
sure.
He was kind of right, and I think Jared's kind of right. This does feel a little bit more like a Psychonought deck that's splashing Tog versus the other way around.
Yeah. I might have to be a little bit more stringent with the requirements for Psychotog. So when I make I curate the list of the 56 decks which are going to be represented here. want to make sure that things are well represented. Um, but for the decks which don't see a lot of play, however, are very iconic, and people always ask about, like in the format, such as Psychotog definitely has its little cult following within the community, and people who just love old Psychotog. Um, but because it is so unestablished, that I don't try to be very stringent. Like when people submit their decks, they have a lot of flexibility, and Aaron took that flexibility and just used one of the most proven shells in the format to do it. But yeah, I try to give the players as much flexibility as they can with the lists, but at the same time, I also try to diversify like everything as much. Because when you like start looking at um, some of the major archetypes in Premodern, you realize there's a lot of Oath decks, there's a lot of Survival decks, there's a lot of Dreadnought decks, there's also a lot of Sphere of Resistance decks. That's another one which comes up quite a bit.
They're making a comeback.
Yeah, and they've always kind of like been around. Because even when we started, like you'd have Pink Prison is Sphere, Mud is Sphere, Blue Red, Tinker, Weather is a Sphere Resistance, and then you had like Oath of Druids plus Sphere. So it's definitely one of those cards which is actually kind of like a pillar of the format, but people don't think of in the same way as they would like Oath of Druids.
Right. All right, so let's see here. We're off to the races. David just leads with, oh, wow, another duress from Aaron.
Yep.
Okay, pretty good. Oh, okay.
Do you just snap the, well, do you take a verdict? Okay, yeah, he does decide verdict is the best one.
So he wants to protect his hand early on.
Yeah.
So he's got some Deist cards in that grip.
And also, like, if Aaron just plays a Psychotog game here, that is, you can just laugh off the disenchants. And that's kind of like what I was saying about, Psychotog being such a good backup threat for the Knot. A lot of the sideboard cards for Knot don't hit the Psychotog at all. Oh, and we do see the Negators in.
Brought in the Negator on the play.
Yep.
Okay. Guess who's about to join the party?
I think it's going to be a Phyrexian Negator.
Yeah, I think you've got to jam it here, right? Like, days be damned.
Yep. Make him have it.
Yep.
All right. And Aaron suddenly is on a 4-turn clock. I had the pleasure, according to David, of handing him his first loss the other night to a Phyrexian Negator. He's like, I played this format for 3 years, and I've never died to a Phyrexian Negator. I got to be the first one to deliver the blow.
Nice.
My last 2 permanents on the board were a
fun.
Negator and a Rack, and it's just like that's perfect.
Okay, this is kind of epic. So we do see the smother. So he brought them in, which is great, especially because they're Negators. But then David just top decks another one, shrugs and says, "Sorry."
Beautiful.
Love that. It's a moto bug. Moto bug.
Happens all the time. All right, he kept in the Tainted Packs.
Oh man, I can't wait. I wonder, wasn't paying attention if he changed his sideboard in between some of these later games, but I'll be curious to see what he did overall.
All right, yeah, and he flips a Duress. That's like exactly what he wanted. And is it going to be a Daze or a Counterspell? Impulse.
Impulse for like a Dreadnought or something here.
Yeah.
Or Psychotog. Don't think he found it if he has to think about it.
Nope. Let's see what secrets you're keeping, Aaron. Another Impulse, Stifle, Gush, Foil. Oof. Interesting. So I wonder if he just got the foil, because otherwise, wouldn't you gush into foil on the second Negator if you didn't already have it?
I mean, you still could have, right?
Mm.
Oh, you mean okay? Yeah, not for the duress. I'm sorry. For the get negator. Yeah, yeah. I think you're right.
Mm.
I think he absolutely would have foiled it.
So this is interesting right here. Um, do you take the stifle and just hope it buys you enough time, or
Um,
do you just take a gush so he only has one gush available to him? Gush, double gush plus impulse sees so many cards. Okay, and he takes the impulse. Okay, I think that makes sense to me because that sees the most cards immediately. Aaron can always just float to gush here,
yeah.
but he can't float to gush and impulse and possibly find the psychotog or the knot.
He's considering gushing. I mean, he's got 3 turns, depending on what he does with that underground river. All right, he's going for it. We're gonna gush.
I'd just like to thank our 14 viewers that we have coming in here. Definitely appreciate it. And we do find the knot.
Hmm.
David does not have 12 permanents in place. I don't think he's going to be attacking. Just a guess.
Yeah, he's got a tough decision here, right? It's normally correct to wait until the draw step, but I think he wants to race, so that's why he's going for it here.
And just a counter spell. All right.
Ugh. Well, not ideal. And now he's, obviously, um, Aaron still has the foil, so David may not be able to get out of this, depending on whatever his other card is. He may just scoop him up.
Yeah, he'd have to have a plow like on the next turn because yeah, he can take just has land and disenchant. He's gonna force Aaron to foil right now.
And hope to top deck.
Yep.
I mean, that way Aaron's got to get rid of that island, right? So he can't gush again. So he can't draw an island, play it, and gush into an answer, right?
Correct.
Whoa, what did he keep? Was he got a vision charm or something? Interesting. The counter spell.
So David's got a lot of top decks here. We've seen 2 of the disenchants, which means we assume he has his third one still handy. We have not seen a Swords to Plowshares. We have not seen a Vindicate.
Okay, slam it. Slam it. Is he gonna slam it? You gotta slam it.
Ah!
Oh man. Whew.
He's going to come in for the 5 while he can.
That's gonna do it. That's it's GG's. Looks like Aaron takes it down.
Going to unmute these guys and we can listen in.
Okay.
Island.
Oh, you just drew an. Okay, yeah.
And I drew an island off the top. Yeah. I'm like only one of these is only useful with the other one.
You're right.
Yeah. Oh man.
Unmute these guys. Oh, I can't unmute them. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna unmute and open up these things.
That was quite a match there. That was quite a way to send it off.
Yeah, that was a good game.
Yeah, man, that was nuts. I gotta unmute these guys. That was wild.
So David, you kept in the Tainted Packs. I was just assuming they were immediately going out.
They were so good.
Yeah. No, like they're just better than a lot of the other things I could do. Also, that like Dreadnought requires a lot of really specific cards, and I know I've talked a lot of crap about the card, and I've had some beats with it, but I do think I needed it in this matchup. So
Honestly, it felt really good. You were ripping great cards.
yeah.
Yeah,
quite good.
Yeah, the duress right there is I thought was especially good. There, what was that game? Was that game 3 or game 4?
Yeah.
Just packed it into
Keeping the duress and then keeping the verdict
Mhm.
at one point, like, seems great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't get greedy.
Yeah. Yeah, I needed that arena, that duress super.
My sideboard was just 2 smothers in place of 2 LTVs.
Yeah, I looked at your board. I don't think he's going to board very much.
No.
I wanted.
No, I just needed something for the negators. I knew you were bringing in negators.
Yeah, of course. I'll always bring a negator.
We love seeing him. We weren't sure if you were going to bring him in. We knew like a Wither Wretch,
for
like
sure.
Disenchant. We were pretty certain we're coming
in.
But yeah, Desolation Angel is not the matchup
Dragon,
for it.
Dustbolt, Death Grasp.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, Dustbolt makes sense. I didn't think about Dustbolt.
Yeah, I even boarded out in land still. Like, if I'm playing in Sly, I just want lower spell density against them, so I just like bring out Dustbolts a lot, and I just play with 24 lands. Because I like need more spells to beat them. I really wanted to bring in the 3rd and 4th negator for the game I was on the play, but I really couldn't find room. Like, maybe the arena should have come out, but I think arena ends the game as well, if not better, than the negator. Like, obviously that game I landed it, but it didn't really. If I can't get the Dreadnought off the table, I'm going to lose that race.
Oh, absolutely.
That was kind of amazing when you top decked the second and I guess only other negator in your deck.
Oh my God!
Beautiful.
I thought I was dead because I did not have an answer for it. I had to I gushed into a Dreadnought. I did not have a Dreadnought in hand.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, we saw your hand the turn before it. Like, I had to take Impulse there because there's a lot of cards I can't beat. And like, especially if you land a Psychotog there, it's gonna rip. I need to rip a removal spell, or the game just comes to a standstill, and you've got 2 gushes, and I'm probably not going to catch up at that point.
You were drawing so many cards. I actually thought about putting in Brain Freeze.
I don't know about all that.
Well,
maybe.
Did you see how many cards were left in your library in game 2? I was like, maybe this is a plan.
Yeah, game 2's plan is like my plan. Games 1 and 2 is a lot slower than the sideboarded games, though.
Yeah, for sure.
I get to take out all this garb. Like, I had Desolation Angel both games 1 and 2, and I had the mana even, but like, I don't know. Your deck needs 2 lands, and it just wasn't worth casting.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that, Aaron, and my thoughts on that were that you don't have the luxury of keeping it, like sandbagging it in your hand for a really long time, just giving all the discard and access to your hand that David has. So at some point, maybe halfway through the game, you're probably going to get duressed or something, and he's going to see it and be like, okay, I see you're up
the
2
jig
over
is
there.
Up, and you have to.
Yeah. I'm either going to take it or play around it for the rest of the match.
Right.
Exactly. If you know it's there, it's one of the easiest things for you to play around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we figured you would bring in Smothers. David, we weren't sure with you. Mike had said that you didn't like the tainted packs, and so we figured those were coming out, even though they had been good for you this match. So we figured Withered Wretch and Disenchant, but the negators were a surprise.
Yeah, I just had some extra cards to bring out. Like, I don't want any of this really. If I hated Tainted Pact, if this was any other matchup, like, I probably just cut the 2 Tainted Packs and brought in the 3rd and 4th negator. But I mean, even in all of those games, Tainted Pact would have been good at some point, because I just need specific things, or it's just such a weird, like, Psychotog and Dreadnought is such a weird thing to combat. Like, I had the 2 Disenchants, where, like, during the duress, I was like, well, if you draw Psychotog, I'm fucking dead. Like,
yeah. Well, I gushed thinking, like, Psychotog feels good if I just get it. Oh, Dreadnought works. All right.
Yeah.
It turns out
you're the 2 counters, but yeah. Yeah, Swords in that last turn would have been,
Oh my gosh.
or Vindicate rather. Vindicate would have been better because then you were just dead the next turn. But
Yeah.
cool.
Well, congrats,
That was,
Aaron, taking it all down.
Thank you.
And with your 6-round pick.
Honestly, thank you so much for having me. This whole thing has been just a blast. Shout out to everybody in that group chat. What a goofy, fun chat to be in.
Yeah, that was very, very cool experience. I'm glad you picked me now that I've got some Magic cards to play with.
I like to think that the group chats in these tournaments are like the best part, right? So when we play PSS, it's the same thing, right? The group chats are absolutely my favorite part of that whole series, and being privy to that is a lot of fun. So I would just say, like anyone out there in chat, if you're thinking of like playing in these, if you have the cards, definitely offer yourself up.
100%.
It's a lot of fun if you have the time to do it.
Yeah, the trash talking during the deck drafting process alone made it awesome.
I still maintain I would have won if I'd picked Draco Blast instead, but somebody snapped me. Monster. Who picked it in round 1?
Yeah. No, it was a rough one.
Yeah, Aaron was definitely for chat. Aaron was hate drafting just like a maniac.
Yeah, somebody took Fly and he just went off.
I've lost it. I just after that I was there's no red, but I'm seeing red.
Yeah.
No,
I'm glad I picked
I've
this
really been
deck.
enjoying goblins, so I did like first pick goblins. Sly was on the board, so I had my shot.
Yep.
Sly's not going to make it to the second round. Come on.
People hate on me for second rounding like elves. I'm like, you let elves come around me.
You let elves get to the second round.
I know it. I'm not going to pass that up.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's it. And so for the final thing of the Gauntlet is to crown a champion for the bracket challenge. So we're going to do that right now. I'm going to put in the final result. I'm probably going to have to. So,
he believed in Deadguy.
Let's see. What was 3-1?
My bracket was so busted right off the bat. What did I had zombies going like super deep into this actually, and it got destroyed in the first round.
So the final rankings doesn't look like anything changed right there. So I'm going to have to alter this from round base points to success percentage. After each, calculate the ranking. Yep. And we're going to recalculate. And Ricardo Barros takes it down.
Hey.
49 right there.
Oh, man. Right.
Well done, Ricardo.
Yep. Got to shout out Ricardo. He is just he's a staple of the Brazilian community. He does so much to organize things down there. So sorry, Mike. We all love you. But yeah, that sweet future site's going to go to Ricardo down there in Brazil.
Very cool. Congrats.
Congrats, guys, and thank you so much for joining us. And we'll call it a tournament for this year.
Awesome. Thanks so much again, everybody.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right.
Nice work, guys. Well played. Good games.
Thank you.
Thank you, chat, for joining us. And yeah, good night, everyone.